All it would take to expose alien life is one phone call. That is what has been touted by the Metro. And who do you think has the ability to make that one phone call? If you were to ask me, initially before reading this, I would have thought the US President, maybe the UK Prime Minister, maybe other world leaders across the globe. But no, apparently the man that can make that phone call is King Charles III. Very, very interesting article coming out of the Metro. So it states that King Charles has a, quote, hotline to those who can reveal the truth about aliens and should use it, the UK's leading UFO expert says. This is hella interesting because I never thought that King Charles would bother himself with aliens and UFOs. I just don't think he would. But he's probably got the connections to make anything happen, being the King of the United Kingdom and also the Commonwealth. So Nick Pope, who has previously ran the UK government's UFO project, has said that the King should use his power to compel the US to divulge everything it knows about unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP. Now, there is the Schumer amendment that is coming into fruition at some point. We don't know when, but that should force US government officials to share all of their documents by October 30th, I believe, something like that, October 18th. His statement comes 3 months after the US Congress held a hearing into the issue after whistleblower David Charles Grush alleged the government is hiding evidence of an intellect and partially intact alien vehicles. The King has a direct access hotline to the top people when he needs it, said Mr. Pope, now a broadcaster and journalist. Here is someone who can lift up the phone and say, what's going on in the US? I followed the story with interest about the NASA reports of the Office of National Intelligence and the congressional hearings about multiple UFO provisions in the defense bill, and I want full classified briefing. Mr. Pope said support from the King would kickstart similar proceedings in the UK as have been seen in the US Congress, during which Mr. Grush also alleged that people have been, quote, harmed or injured in an effort to cover up the alien technology held by the government. This is hella interesting because, you know, when you think about UFO kind of releasing documents and all the rest of it, your mind goes instantly to the US, and that's probably because of pop culture, recent Hollywood movies and things like this. You don't often think of, the UK, you don't often think of other European countries. Your mind 9 times out of 10 goes to the US. But I have no doubt that the UK is probably hiding some shady shit as well. If they're not, I mean, the Vatican is believed to be holding some stuff as well. So, obviously, there's a whole thing behind that. 2 other witnesses, former Navy pilot Lieutenant Ryan Graves and former Navy Commander David Fravor, have both shared their experiences with UAP, including mysterious dark cube floating in the sky. Lieutenant Graves added up that UAP are an, quote, open secret among fighter pilots. If the King did not want to be seen publicly pressing for more details on the potential alien presence, Mr. Pope suggested he persuades MPs or peers to pick up the baton in Parliament, despite the potential stigma. That's exactly what this is all about. Nobody wants the stigma of aliens because it is conspiracy, or believed to be, in pop culture news. Quote, someone has to go first, and yes, it's a big, brave step, said Mr. Pope, speaking with the upcoming documentary, The King of UFOs, out in November. You don't want to be the politician associated with flying saucers if that's the way it's spun, but politicians can be very astute at times, and it's very easy, particularly if you have an overt or covert royal support, to frame your interest and commitment to open government and concerns over defence and flight safety. That's how politicians in the US handle it. It's a perfect legitimate interest to have. In fact, it's bizarre if you weren't concerned about the flight safety, especially when we have pilots and radar operators speaking about it. And this is exactly what congressional and congressmen and congresswomen like Anna Paulina Luna, Matt Graves, who else we got? Who's Dangum? Tim Burchett, obviously. You know, all of these people have got an interest in this, but they kind of mask it behind pilot safety and national security risks and stuff like this, because then the stigma goes away, because you're not like probing about aliens, you're instead asking about legitimate safety concerns that you may have. Anyway, back to the article. A recent documentary by the same producers of The King of UFOs also alleged that a king flew a craft modelled on a crashed UFO in the 1970s. The UFO-type vehicle was saucer-shaped with 3 pilots and 3 individual glass domes, designed to protect them from the electromagnetic force given by the mothership controlling the craft. The presence of UAP is now widely accepted across the scientific and defense communities, but the cause remains a hotly debated topic, with aliens far down the list of suspects. A recent NASA report said it had no evidence of any UAP investigated being related to extraterrestrial intelligence. In the past, UAP have been found to be balloons or drones, among other objects, where they cannot be identified. Many argue they are classified military operations. However, across the world, the demand for transparency about UAP is growing. The Pentagon recently unveiled a website where they will allow the public to keep up to date with its investigations, and will eventually allow them to submit sightings. I think they are referring to Arrow, but obviously, as we've seen, Arrow cannot be trusted as of late, and they do not actually have the clearance or the classification clearance to actually divulge any information. So it's pretty pointless. Where's my thing gone? Go away. There it is. A map on the website showed North America and the Middle East and Japan are all hotspots for UFO sightings. Now, what I will say about the map for UFO sightings and the hotspots is it's not the most accurate thing in the world, because obviously the hotspots are places where it is densely populated. So where you've got major cities, New York, Miami, Las Vegas, where there are lots of people in a confined area, there are more sightings there, obviously, because there are more people there to have supposed sightings. Japan, of course, has a huge population, alongside the Middle East has got a huge population, and densely so. So, of course, there are going to be more sightings, but if you look into the more areas where there's less population, like a bit more kind of, suburb kind of districts, there's less sightings. So, take from that what you will. In Mexico, the country held its own hearing with a surprising twist when the journalist Jamie Morrison unveiled what he had alleged were 2 non-human beings being recovered from a mine in Peru. Obviously, there is a lot of debate about that. People have said that they were paper mache. People have said that they were cake. Obviously, Jamie Morrison is not exactly the most trustworthy source when it comes to this stuff, because I believe about 10 years ago he tried to pull a stunt where he said that he'd found aliens and they turned out to be nothing and man-made, and then he's done it again, and he's currently going through the process of doing it again. He's not exactly the most reliable source. But anyway, the bodies and accompanying evidence were widely being discredited by the scientific community, like we've just said. Lieutenant Graves, who gave his testimony in the hearing, blasted the unsubstantial stunt, adding that the demonstration was a huge step backwards for the issue. And I completely agree. It was a huge step back for the issue, because it just gave all the naysayers. So let's put it this way. You've got stigma around this UFO topic, right? I would have been one of the people being like, what? If I had seen this channel today, a year ago, I would have been like, what am I doing? But after doing all the research and all the learning, I've opened my eyes to it, and I've become a bit more open-minded to the topic. And, this is what we need people to do. We need people to open their minds to the topic, but that comes through credible sources, but you've got someone from Mexico who's turning around and saying, I have got alien bodies. The whole world diverts attention there, because that's something that nobody claims, right? So everyone looks at it and they're like, whoa, they look like aliens. They could be aliens. And then it turns out that this was just a publicity stunt, and it wasn't actually real. And people are just like, told you so. Told you this is stupid. Told you there's no aliens. Told you that the UFOs were fake and all the rest of it, and these people are just conspiracy tinfoil hat wearing nut jobs. It just discredits the whole thing, and it undoes a lot of the work that people put in. Not myself, because I feel like I barely scratched the surface, but these people who kind of really push forward this topic. it really undoes a lot of their work. But what do you guys think? Should King Charles abuse his power and make sure that, or not abuse it, just flex his power and make it so the US have no choice but to disclose what they know? Or do you think he should stay out of the topic? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump scare the hell out of that like button if you have gone on to enjoy. Subscribe if you're new. Tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to the channel. And until next time, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.